Hi everyone, my name's Virginia Percy and I work at Arcas Advertising as a optimization professional. So I spend a lot of my time doing organizing and just making processes work faster. But today I'm going to be talking to you about something else that I'm passionate about, which is sustainable fashion. We are currently in a time where shopping might not be as easy, and actually that maybe is a good thing because, as we all know, or most of us have potentially heard about, fashion is a bit of a polluting industry. I shouldn't say a bit. It's very hard on the earth and on people. Environmentally speaking, often in human rights ways, it's not the best thing to just keep buying disposable fashion and then throwing it away. So today we're going to talk about how we can make our clothes last a little longer. There's a really great illustration that shows different ways that we can be more sustainable in our wardrobes. In the biggest section of the triangle, there is use what you already have. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. How do we make our clothes last longer? Of course, this is easy if they're high quality clothes like organic cotton or other really durable, sustainable fabrics, but we all have clothes already in our closets, and we can all make them last just a bit longer, and in that way reduce our impact. I'm going to talk about some ways to do that. First off, mending. Sometimes we buy things that fall apart, or that, we're out in the world and we get a rip or a stain. Right now we'll be talking about rips. There are ways that we can make things last instead of just saying, well, it's ripped, I have to throw it away. So for example, I have this pair of distressed denim. So it's got lots of holes in it already, but that's sort of on purpose. But recently I caught one of the holes on the edge of something and it ripped really big. So this knee was just gaping right open. But with the aid of a needle and thread, I was able to sew up that extra rip and it's good as new. This technique here is something for sewing straight rips. And what you do is you go through the center of the rip and then off to the side, back to the center, off to the side, back to the center, off to the other side, and it's a super durable way of mending. I'd like to be able to do some actual tutorials here, but this is a tiny lesson, not a huge lesson. So I will give you some resources at the end of the video that you can look into yourself. But there are other just ideas about how things can be mended that I just want to go over really quickly. So you might think you can only mend things that are like denim or a thicker fabric, but you can mend pretty much anything, even these stretchy leggings. So these ones got a hole in the knee, and there it is in the light. So I just put another piece of stretchy black fabric in the inside, sewed around the outside of the patch, and then around the hole, and it's good as new. These have been washed and worn several times since I did this, and they're holding up great. So especially if you're spending some money on something that's durable otherwise, like a higher quality legging, and you want to make it last, you can do that. Hand sewing at home. Other things, even the fit can be adjusted at home. So like these jeans were too wide, just in this sort of strange spot between the pocket and the waistband. And so I just folded them in, stitched across. Perfect. There are smaller fit things that you can adjust to, like just with a little tack. So a tack is just sort of like a tiny stitch that goes around maybe a couple times, kind of like sewing on a button, which is also a great idea. But it just sort of makes things sit a little bit better. Like if you have a button-up shirt that's just gaping in one spot, but it's big enough that you could pull it over your head instead of doing up all the buttons, you could try just tacking down in between instead of buying a new blouse that's maybe a little bit bigger. I did that with this tank top, which has got an open back, but the open back starts way up here, which was a bit more revealing than I was looking for. And so all I did was put one tack right here. You can barely see it on either side of the fabric, but it just makes the shirt hang in a way that's more comfortable for me, and I don't have to worry about going to see a seamstress. This sweater also has been tacked on the inside of the pockets because I thought it was annoying that the inside of the pockets were just flopping around. And so I just tacked down the corners, the two corners of each of the pockets. And now I don't have that problem. So there's lots of mending things. Pinterest is a great resource. If you just type in hand sewing techniques or sewing by hand, those kind of keywords, you're going to find all sorts of awesome resources that can help you learn. Even if you don't have much of a background at all with sewing, you can learn anything online. I mean, lots of people learn how to clean out their dishwasher watching YouTube, and you can certainly learn to thread a needle or sew on a button or learn some other more fun patching techniques. So that's the first way to make your clothes last longer. Of course, if you're really just not into the idea of sewing and you don't want to do it yourself, find yourself a seamstress or another alteration professional. So almost every community has them. And if you find one that you like, obviously in this time, you might need to find somebody who does remote pickup and drop off, but you can get a seamstress to do all sorts of things and make your clothes fit a little bit better. Bring hems up, let hems out, remove sleeves. They can add or remove pockets, like from a dress. Maybe it's not laying as flat as you like. And these little things can really make a huge difference in how comfortable you feel in your clothes and thus how long you're going to want to wear them for. The next thing is dyeing or removing stains from your clothes. So of course we get stains on our clothes sometimes, eating, being in the world, it just happens. If you get a good stain remover, you can, often it helps just to put water on a stain right away if possible. But if you, when you get it home before laundry time, get a little stain remover on there, let it sit for a while, put it through the wash. If you don't put it in the dryer and the stain doesn't come out right away, you can run it through a second time. And often that will do the trick. But if those stains really aren't coming out and you still want to use the item, then your other option is to try fabric dye. So there are lots of created fabric dyes that you can buy. Standard brands include RIT, and you can get that at Michael's or other sewing or craft supply places, including online. And it's pretty simple. There's great straightforward instructions in the package. And you sort of trial and error, but you can try it. There's also natural dyeing. That's a whole rabbit hole if you really want to dive into it here while you're spending a little more time at home. But you can use things like food items or other natural supplies to make your own fabric dye, which is pretty fun. And like I said, the mistakes are sometimes part of the fun. I did dye a pair of overalls that was a really light denim and just not working for my sort of outdoorsy lifestyle, just with navy, and they turned out, because I didn't stir them enough in the pot, to be kind of a tie-dye looking fabric, but actually I just sort of said, how fascinating. Sometimes the imperfections can bring you something you didn't even realize you were looking for. So that's dyeing. And then if you've tried all those things and you're still just sort of, it's not that something's broken, but you're just sort of feeling blah about your clothes, like you're just not interested in them anymore, there are some other things you can do just to extend the life of your clothes without buying new ones, such as styling tricks. So you can try combining your clothes in a way that you wouldn't have thought of before. You can try belting something that normally is worn loose. You can try tucking in. The very popular styling trick right now is the French Tack, popularized by Queer Eyes Tan France. And it's basically just tucking in the front of your shirt and leaving the rest of it out. This works for men and women, even kids, and just sort of gives you a different silhouette. If you haven't tried that before, you can try just layering something. Maybe you try wearing a vest or a cardigan or tying a shirt around your waist. I mean, anyone who remembers the 90s has probably tried that before, but everything comes back around, so that's worth trying. Sometimes we get in these ruts and we don't realize that our clothes are more versatile than we thought. I hope this has given you some good ideas about how to extend the life of your clothes. Like I said, there's a lot of resources online if you want to dig in. I'd recommend a couple of books. The Conscious Closet by Elizabeth L. Klein was great for me and actually has a lot of illustrations about doing your own hand mending if you want to dive into that. And I've recently heard about a book called Mending Matters by Katrina Rodabaugh, and I haven't tried it yet, but it looks awesome and along the same lines. And I would just say, if you haven't tried this before, there's no time like the present. It might feel like a very small thing to do to add some sustainability to your life. In my view, every little action counts. And if we're all doing little actions, it really adds up. So thanks for listening to my tiny lesson. Feel free to get in touch with me and to talk more about it. I love this stuff. But otherwise, good luck. Thanks. Bye.